create infinite realities.
My name is Drew Taylor. I am a senior writer at TheWrap and an animation freak and a K-pop early adopter, I like to say. So let's bring out our panelists. Let's bring out Michelle Wong, producer. Come on out, Michelle. Jacky Priddle, co-producer. Come on out. And Josh Beveridge, animation director. Come on out. Josh, you're the only beverage allowed in this theater.
I like
Thank
it.
you. Thank you. All right.
My little sister's name is actually Ivana Beveridge.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Well, I thought we could just start by talking about the amazing success and just how you all are feeling about how this movie has been embraced around the world.
It's funny because I haven't seen Josh for maybe a month. And we saw each other last night. I think we spent just about 2 hours just talking. Yeah. Talking about.
Well, Tom, what were you talking about?
Well,
it's weird to see each other for every day for so long, and then this phenomenon happens, and then we don't get to actually see each other in real life. And I don't know, there's so many feels to catch up on.
Right.
Yeah.
And also, it happened so quickly, didn't it? It was unexpected.
Very unexpected. That's the thing.
Yeah.
It's just, we worked so hard and so long, and you work in a bubble.
Yeah.
And you start to lose sight of we know the movie. We think the movie's good, but then you're not sure if it's gonna, if the audience is gonna feel the same.
Yeah, because we came out of a crew screening and everyone was just like, this is amazing. This is going to be amazing. And you always feel like you think, are we just being self-congratulatory?
Right.
How good is this? And then 2 days later, oh my God, it's taken over the world.
Right.
Yeah.
You didn't finish the movie and said, well, that'll be 300 million views on Netflix. No. Okay.
And then, it's 16 weeks later?
Yeah.
And,
this has been a shape of success we couldn't fathom. We didn't know how to see.
But it's sort of nice that it's an organic success and it wasn't a pre-packaged,
It makes it so much more special.
Yeah.
Yeah. It has a life of its own.
Yeah.
But also quite surreal.
Yeah.
Like, how did that happen?
Yeah, I was just saying, I saw a post about the Portland Water Authority. I'm so excited about K-pop Demon Hunters.
Okay. Well, you got any Portland Water Authority fans in the Okay. Has there been an interaction or a encounter that has really meant a lot to you since this has come out? Because obviously, the representation and the visibility of it is so profound and speaking to so many people from so many cultures. But yeah, I was wondering if there was.
For me, it's mostly the representation. There's so many. People from my childhood, some of my Asian friends, growing up in a suburb in Northern California in the 70s was a time where, in my high school or in any grade from, elementary to high school, I was maybe one of 10 Asians.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think if you guys had watched Fallon, Mei Hong talks about, bringing her kimbap to in her lunch, and in the 70s, it was the same, it was just constantly oh, your food stinks, or, why, and, just being called back then it was pretty bad where, there was definitely racist slurs, and so, coming full circle to this moment and having so many, people, in all different kinds of Asian, approach me and just say how much it means to them, and to be able to see a movie or any kind of entertainment with a complete Asian cast, taking place in Korea is just and seeing the characters interact like we do. If you look at our movie, there's specific ways that we place our table setting, the way that we eat. There's a couple times I remember, in animation where we were like, no, you have to move the the chopsticks to the side. You cannot stick the chopsticks in the rice. You just because culturally that's just not good. If you
when an elder's in the room, you behave entirely different.
Right.
The doctor enters the room, you have to respond to that. There's all these things that you wouldn't think about, and you have to you don't even know what questions to ask.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then our team was just what was amazing was that in every department we had someone of Korean descent.
Yeah.
And if not, someone of Asian descent. And
a really organic thing happened on the team where there was a community of people that took on this additional enthusiasm to teach people and just share more, and they saw this as a thing that they took pride in from the beginning. It was, we were all so much of the team was in this crash course of sharing, and not just Korean culture, but also K-pop culture, the K-pop music. And I learned that for years before we even started this movie, there was already a community of K-pop fans. They had this long thread that just so I could learn, they invited me in to lurk on what they're all talking about. So it was a crash course, and you could see this this love of sharing that was happening over and over again.
And even the energy picked up, didn't it, with the crew that were non-Asian. So for social events, we do how to tie a norage or K-pop dancing, and just people got really, really into it. And there were so many kind of fangirls, weren't there, with all their their K-pop cards. So we did a whole selection of cards. So we were doing card trading with the characters and things like that. So it just, like you said, it just grew and grew.
I mean, it wasn't. I mean, we're all so departmentalized and mentalized and specialized and experts at a certain field, but with something like this, you gotta talk to each other and have messy conversations a little bit more. So my animators would reach out to modeling, go no, the water bottle wouldn't be shaped like this. It would be placed over there. And then the head of hair would taught me that's not how the dance choreography would be. There's it's more about how this and this, and the walls got teared down. Once you're doing something hard that's out of your comfort zone, you have to communicate more. And especially when it's something people care about, they're just going to be more inclined to.
It's pretty amazing. I mean, I talked to Maggie when she got back from Korea the first time, and she was talking about going through the museum and there being lines out the door because people are so interested in seeing the tiger in sort of traditional art and how interested. I mean, it's a kind of profound thing that has happened.
I mean, Maggie's a celebrity now.
Yeah.
It's fun to watch someone become a celebrity.
And with Maggie also, I don't know, but it must have been validating for her as a filmmaker to have all the crew kind of just responding to her with, and this is how we do it in Korea. And then she's like, yes, it is.
Yeah.
Suddenly people understood.
No one's saying it's, no one's correcting you on any of the thing. No,
it's true.
Well, talk about, Michelle, maybe talk about the origins of this project, where it came from.
It's one of our directors, Maggie Kang. It's her original story. The birth of it was between her and her husband 7 years ago, and then she brought it to the studio 5 years ago. And we really pushed really hard to it was at a time where a lot of the studios were making different types of projects, and Christine Belson and Pam Martin at the time really were excited about the project, and so it got greenlit, and amazingly Sony really supported us in making it. I came on 3.5 years ago.
Okay.
So probably right after. As soon as right at the end of development.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. And then what about you guys?
I'm racking my brain for what month I started.
You don't have to be that specific, Josh.
Well, I started in January 3 years ago.
Okay.
So it must have been around the same time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want to, Jackie? Do you want to talk about what a co-producer does and what your role specifically was? Yeah. Okay.
So we do the back end of the process. So all the development, like Michelle said, was done beforehand, and then all the story. Well, the story started, and then when the story's ready to go into layout, so kind of go into production, that's when we take over.
Okay.
The bridge from pre-production to production.
Okay. Yeah. And are you there for the duration of production?
Yeah. So we start building all the assets, all the characters, all the sets, all the everything, and then we take it from there. That goes into layout, and then the whole filmmaking process begins. So I'm kind of responsible for the back end, overseeing budget, schedule, working sort of with the whole team, but also the bridge between the front end and the back end.
Okay.
So working with Michelle and Scott Berry, and then working with Josh and I were talking, so I was saying, I think in a linear way, so I'm quite organized. So I go A, B, C.
Right.
And so, but we need Josh and we need the VFX soup to do the magic in between the A and the B. So I say, right, we've got to do this. And then they go, and cast lots of spells and go really quick. And I go, right, stop now. Stop now, we've got to get to B.
Right.
So there's a sort of practical element and then a really creative element.
And Josh, you're obviously in the production part of it.
Yeah, well, there's still the development, finding the characters.
Yeah,
all of the But we're starting to make the actual characters. What is this movie going to really be? There's nothing but ideas, and now we're trying to road test them and build them.
Right.
And we incorporated Josh pretty early in the way that we welcomed him into our meetings just to hear the directors talk about the characters, and because they're very specific, and we wanted them to be specific. So, Josh is really great at interpreting and asking a lot of questions, and also giving creative thoughts of different ways that we could accomplish these specific characters.
Yeah, it was very much a vibe that was forming itself. It was like, we're trying to make something you haven't seen before. And these are the influences. And the influences, it took a while to even crystallize where they were. But obviously anime was a big one.
Right.
K-dramas and just K-pop culture itself on stage and off stage and music videos. So how do we get all of these things to talk to each other? And that was the journey we kind of plus all the magic of the world, defining the Han Moons and what the rules of this thing are, and then diving into every character's background, their backstories. Even the stuff you don't see on screen, you have to have that in your head to make it feel like
something tells me we'll get to those backstories.
But it was also like the glamour, wasn't it, and the really high end fashion,
but also
them
without the makeup, right? Yeah,
the realism,
it's easy
eating.
It's easy for those things to betray each other.
Yeah.
If you don't make them talk to each other. Yeah.
But you were kind of an interpreter for Maggie and Chris's sort of imagination.
I think we were all just trying to get Maggie and Chris's head.
Yes.
Because and then we I think in the beginning we had thought that the chibi characters, we had thought that we would use those characters more frequently in the movie, but after we got into it, we realized that it wasn't right for some moments because the characters needed to be grounded because they are humans.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. And the chibi moments are when they kind of go full anime.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure everyone knows.
It's a term that just means ultra cute.
Ultra cute. Well, we have a 30-second clip of the chibi. Garth, do you want to run that?
Do we need to see the other clip first?
Oh, do you? I don't think.
I don't know.
No.
No.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So when we're saying chibi, it's things like this.
Oh, this is okay.
This is you'll see this in in the film. It's just a real quick shot, but this is one of the first shots we did in the film. We did this quick montage.
Yeah.
And we learned a lot of our show style here, because we knew we had the appetite for makeup, so we needed to have subtlety in the skin, but had to be cute enough we could pull off faces as wild and dumb as this.
Right.
And okay, if we go to the next clip, this is how it looked in film. This is how it looked like when I approve an animation. So this is the shapes are all reading, the story points are reading. It doesn't have any of the pretty lighting. If we go one more, I want to show off the trick. This is how we did it. We invented a new piece of tech for this because we had to figure out how to just get agnostic from form and just have a totally stunt mouth that we could put anywhere. We did this for all the facial features. Like this, if it will eventually show from the side, it's totally flying a foot in front of the face. So we had to have this whole measuring system.
Oh.
And the logic to make this work, so she's walking into light with shadow at the same time as her mouth, was a whole little feat. So responding to the same scene. This is the sneaky magic, and this is what we call our chibi.
And were you using the same process when they went full anime?
Absolutely. Yeah.
When they are basically emojis.
Interchangeable pieces. Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely. So we're masking and revealing several layers of models and just trying to make it look cute instead of disgusting. Because you could see why that could easily go the other way.
Yeah. This will all haunt us tonight as we close our eyes.
That's right at the beginning of the process. So that takes a lot of development and thought.
Yeah.
Yeah. That and like, you're immersing yourself in a culture that like so many of us didn't know much about. Like so, like we did like the first thing I did was like do a little dance test with Genu, and I had in my head like, oh, it's animated. We're gonna make it so like over the top, like do impossible breakdancing things that could never happen. And then as soon as the feedback I got, it's like that's not this world. No, it has to be relatable.
It's so
want to do. Yeah.
Well, we'll talk about that in a second. But Jacky, do you want to set up this clip that we have, and then we can talk about the animation? Okay, Josh is ready.
I think Josh can set up this.
Okay, go ahead, Josh. We have a 3.5 minute montage. What is this montage exactly?
This is just like a flavor, a montage of the film itself. Like it highlights all the little touch points we're talking about. It's like just kind of in chronological. It's random, but in chronological order. Just
okay, all right, let's watch it, and then we will.
If you haven't
and then Jacky, you're on the hook. Okay,
no, I have something.
All right,
but he chose a clip.
Okay.
Bad time, but you just crossed the line. You wanna get wild? Okay, I'll show you wild. Better come right, better let try, get into a level. Hear our voice unwavering. Cause we are hunters, voices strong and I know I believe we're going up, it's our moment. You know the gang and we're glowing. Gonna be golden.
I see.
Fans! We can't let them see us here. Okay, cool. Look normal. You guys are so gross.
Overnight, my fate was changed. I was praised for my voice, even by the king himself. My family and I live in the palace crown.
Try to hide with something broke. I couldn't sing, but you give me hope. We can't fix it if we never face it. Let the past be the past till it's weightless. I was a ghost, I was alone. 두어진 길 속에 given the throne, I didn't know. You need, I'ma be your idol.
Reaching out of fame, 계속 watch I'm your idol. Thank you for the pain, cause it got me going viral. Yeah, 나지 않는 fever, making you a believer. 나를 위해 넌 존재하는 idol.
Genu, no.
I'm sorry for everything.
I'll find your harmony. Fearless and undefined. This is what it sounds like. My voice without the lies. This is what it sounds like. This is what it sounds like.
There we go. There we go. So I first wanted to ask all of you, how did you decide on the kind of animation rules that, animating on 2s versus, doing it on 1s and all that? And then how do you implement that through the kind of pipeline?
That one I begged for.
Did you beg for it?
I literally kind of.
Why was that so important to you?
I said because I thought that was the bridge for how we can merge these three things. Because we have two of the tastes that are very photographic, between the K-pop music videos and concert performances we need, and the K-dramas. There's ultra soft, bloomy lights, and those are the trick to how to marry that with incredibly graphic shapes without the accidentally disgusting part. Messing with the frame rates, you got to trick the brain a little bit, make it a place to have some timing spiciness.
Okay,
that was I saw that was a gateway to not just technically and aesthetically do it, but creatively make the conversations that we're focusing on be choices instead of the why does it look weird, and just trying to bridge that constantly. It makes what you're focusing on completely change.
Right. And was that an easy thing to figure out, Jacky, for the production?
If easy is the right word.
Okay. I mean, there's just
it's true. A lot of people will think that like because you're messing with frame rates and dropping frame rates, that's an efficiency. It so isn't.
No, it's such a bold choice too, artistically.
But that's what makes it interesting. That's what makes it exciting. And that is what we do. You know, sort of the brief was, you know, make a K-pop film. But we didn't just want to make a 3D K-pop film. We want it to be visually interesting, exciting, something different. So, you know, that's what's really refreshing about it, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, the emotional goals were clear early on.
Yeah.
But it was a long time before we went, yes, this is the look. That was a long journey.
Do you remember what the kind of like aha moment was? Was it a piece of art? Was it an animation test?
Like, there was definitely art. There was lots of art and lots of photos that were like the collage from the directors. But I think the look was that Rumi spinning.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the sword, though, we had like a little spicy animation action with the magic sword and like a little flare of glamour and stuff. That was. We did a thing that had everything. Right. Yeah.
But that is also very specific to that moment, right? Because the movie has so many different looks and tones and textures.
Yeah. Because I remember with the you know, the face mask sequence, when Maggie saw that for the first time, because that was our first sequence we did, and Maggie was like, "This is just what I wanted them to look like," and that was a moment where it's just like, you as a director, you could, like an animation director, that's music, isn't it, to your ears to hear that you've kind of achieved.
It was a long journey for it to work. It was not like here's plan, execute plan.
Right.
Yeah.
This was a very nonlinear chasing a vibe.
And it all works together, which is just so amazing.
And interestingly, like with the animators, they can act out their sequence in live action first.
It's a good way for us to make friends.
But it's a good thing to do. But then you're not just copying that, are you? Then you're interpreting from that.
No, so you can see what's in someone's head, and you're going to have a meaningful conversation about the idea. And it's an embarrassing thing, so everyone's getting more related too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the three of you, was there a moment where you reached a particularly difficult roadblock, either technically or story-wise, and how did you figure out how to overcome it?
I mean, there are many.
I was so grateful that you two had already worked on a musical before, because like that we knew that was just gonna be one of the biggest challenges of the film. Like so much this just requires that, and letting sandboxes be sandboxes and kind of working around that. Like luckily you guys had the experience to know and navigate that potential.
Yeah. And you know, everything happened later than we wanted. We always, want to do everything earlier, but, crafting these songs for this movie was very, very challenging.
Can you say when Golden came in?
Golden came in
January, right?
Yeah. Very, very, very late. Yeah,
That's crazy.
That was our last song.
Yeah.
And
then no one ever talked about it ever again. No. I mean, that's
as a process, you just shift priorities.
Okay.
So,
you allow for that to happen.
Yeah. We didn't know Golden was going to be Golden, did we? So
yeah.
And if you're planning for it to be a sandbox, you're changing what the bar of you're working to. Like, so it doesn't mean we weren't working on it. It's like we knew that
you knew that was an important moment.
And, and it wasn't like just waiting for it. We were like, okay, we're trying to find visuals there, the tone for it, trying to like also work out the choreography that might be in flux. But we tried to like know, okay, now the song's still going to change, but there's at least this metronome of the BPMs.
Oh wow!
BPMs.
Okay.
So that was like
we at least gave the team that if we could.
The words could change. Who's saying the words could change? Yeah. But like we can that was really helpful too, and it gives us more time to incubate. So it's not like just improvisational finding it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because when we record the music too, it's like we have all the girls are recording separate. They had never performed together until the other night on Fallon.
Right.
When we record them, there's many times where we have them, all three of them record the same verse or the same chorus. And then when we start comping the song together is when we choose, or and that the choice is made by storytelling.
Yeah.
How we think the choreography is going to come together, and based on the scene. So, and first and foremost, how it sounds.
Right.
Yeah. And if you try to shortchange that, like, nope, so too late, it's over. And then you're shortchanging the whole movie.
Yeah.
Honestly, who cares how great the animation is if it's not emotionally hitting as a song?
Right.
Like what it sounds like, the climax song we had for a while, but we didn't know that was the last scene going.
Right.
in.
It used to be in different places.
It was in different
interesting.
locations, and it really it took us a long time to break that scene and craft how the girls would come together, how they'd be walking on the stage, and just the moment of like, even when the song breaks, we're like, okay, well, how are we going to keep the momentum building?
Yeah.
Without
that was a very creative process of how we're going to make this one linear runway exciting, a really long, exciting journey for many emotional arcs.
Right.
From this door to right there, where like the audience knows the path entirely, but you have to put so many visual hurdles and make it really entertaining and change tones throughout this and support a whole song.
Yeah.
And it's really just a path.
Yeah.
and that sequence basically starts at your idol. When the Saja boys sing their demon song, it's like that's where it actually starts. So it's actually
it's two songs. Yeah.
Two songs, and then you have to have something to connect them.
Right.
I should say that you should bring up your idol. I does remember like one mission statement day one before we started too. It's kind of like what got me excited about the project. Is directors were bold enough, Maggie especially, to say that like just how much care was going into this world, and how, especially her like ambitions for like these girls and the wild range she wanted them. She wanted to see them eating wild on camera and like just being bombastic, but the boys were going to objectify.
It's about time, right? Yeah.
Can I just add to that?
Oh, of course.
Because also on the journey, we mustn't forget that whole visual journey. You were working really closely with effects. You were working really closely with lighting.
Crowds.
So, the whole storytelling isn't just the script, and it's not just animation. It's such a huge process with hundreds of people that are kind of handcrafting every frame.
That's what I love about trying to find something new, is you have to collaborate more.
Yeah.
Everyone has to get out of the lane and get uncomfortable. And so it's
well, and this is not only a musical, but it has so much dancing in it. And I was wondering if we could talk about the choreography. And I think we have a clip.
Yeah.
Do we?
Sure. Talk about it first.
You want to set this up?
Yeah.
Okay. Set up the clip.
So, for our movie, we have 3 sets of choreographers. One being Lee Jung. She works with the Black Label, were partners with us creating the songs. We have 9, who also works with a lot of K-pop stars. And then we have the K-Tigers, which is a group of martial arts dancers. So they do taekwondo mixed with K-pop dance moves.
Love that.
And we started off with thinking that we would only use one choreographer, but as the movie developed, we realized that we didn't think we needed 3, but that's how it ended up. But we wanted specific different styles for each song.
Yeah. So how are you using those 3 groups? I mean, obviously the kind of Taekwondo guys, I imagine we're doing the kind of fight song stuff.
You'd be surprised.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, I mean,
okay. Tell me.
Well, too, like when we got to the boys choreo, we had leaned into the girls first, our Lee Jung and 9, but we realized that, we needed something more, indicative to like men dancing. So that's when we leaned into the K-Tigers. And
all that little epiphanies happen too, and they would do. So you're right. Your assumption was that our first assumption that like we're hiring this team to just do fight choreography.
Yeah.
And then we get all this footage, and then like after the fact, we learned some of these martial artists have gone through idol training.
Yeah.
and like in like the space between the stunt they're about to do, because we get all the footage and we see like they're about to do prepping like their little amp ups. We still like see little glimmers of that personality, and Maggie was like underscoring that's the movie. You want to see that like it's more about these like fun play between them. She's like, you guys animate the action, that's the personality to make sure like really shines on. That was an early epiphany. And then we also learned like, okay, this team can also do this other thing. So that was a collage as well. It was again, not here's plan, execute plan. You're responding to what you see. Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's like, it's not like you take one choreographer and interpret it one to one. It's like animation is like, we're looking at hours and hours of footage and like, Josh is recommending, maybe this or that. And then the directors are also giving their opinion on like what dance move they like. But then it's like animation has to put all of it together.
You're hosting a party and you have to react to the vibe. It changes on you.
Jacky was going nuts because she wants the organized ABC.
No, what I was going to say was with the animation as well, with the dancing, because it's animation, you do things that a human can't do.
Yes.
And that's, obviously that's what animation is. But the rubber legs and soda pop and, all that.
But also like, I love when the girls are sort of like standing behind each other and it's sort of this multi-limbed, I mean, it's just such a beautiful thing.
And that one was like the multi-limbed thing. That was actually one where the choreography was like, just protect it. Yes. That was like,
so somebody did that in real life. I mean, that's amazing.
I mean, you have to animation spices. We animated further, but that was there. Wow. That was good.
Wow.
So the clip is 9, who did the choreo for Golden.
Okay. Here we go.
I thought you were going to do a demo, Michelle.
No, yeah.
I was a ghost, I was alone. 두어진 길 속에 given the throne, I didn't know how to believe I was the queen that I'm meant to be. I lived 2 lives, try to play both sides, but I couldn't find my own place. Caught a problem child, 'cause I got too wild, but now that's how I'm getting paid.
That is so cool.
Right? I love that. That was one of the ones where like, it's there. Don't mess with it.
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing. So when you saw people starting to do the dances online, what did you think?
Wow. Yeah. It just blew my mind.
Especially the soda pop one.
Yeah. I know.
Did it.
What about when Djokovic did it?
Yes,
tennis.
that was just like, and one thing too that, I don't know if everyone realizes is that, this production, everyone's around the world. So a lot of our team is in Korea.
The choreographers are
they're all in Korea,
Yeah.
So it's like, we were lucky enough to meet some of them when we went on our early research trips, because we did on our early research trips, we met with choreographers. But like 9, I've never met her. We've talked via Zoom, and actually she's going to be here in a couple of weeks, so I'm excited to meet her. But everything was through Zoom.
Yeah, get her to show you a few moves. You know what I mean? That could be fun. Is there something that we haven't touched on, maybe in the animation or the movie itself, that you would love to share anecdotally? Jacky, I saw you winding up.
Well, it's not anecdotally, but what I really love about the movie is like the range of emotions. So we've got humor, we've got glamour, we've got drama, like the shot with my favorite shot with Genu when he says, I left them. And one of my favorites.
That's fun.
But you go from soda pop, which is light and poppy, and a earworm, and people are laughing. Yeah, but then it actually gets you, and I think that's really clever.
Yeah,
I think that's part of its magic.
For me, I'll share that this movie it put me well out of my comfort zone. Like my long-term friends know a weird thing about me, that I just don't listen to music. It's not part of my life at all.
It was weird.
It was a joke the whole movie.
like if you see me with my headphones on, it's just because I don't want to talk to anyone.
You're listening to a thoughtful audiobook on the Civil War. Yeah,
but I do like hosting parties. I like that, but is not. It doesn't affect. I know it doesn't affect me like it affects other people.
Right.
So I have to respond to like, is it working?
Right.
Constantly, and it's a place I have zero. I don't have a musical bone in my body. I've danced once in my life, and that's at my wedding, and that's it.
But you
Michelle,
did go to a
this
K-pop
before you hired this man on your movie. Good Lord.
I've known Josh for 20
okay,
years.
you know. Okay.
and the directors were really gracious, and like they embraced that, and like we had to do things like make timing visual on screen. So we're never talking about whether we're on the beat or off, because I'm not going to find it.
Right. Right.
So like we had like a little bouncing ball for every single time the beat mattered. So it's never a conversation. We're going to hit it to the frame, and we know we're anticipating it for like, we had like visual BPMs, and we're just talking about what is the tone and visual entertainment that we're trying to chase. And that
actually is really, I mean, that's kind of amazing that it kind of transcends music, because you got this freak who doesn't listen to music on the movie, you know, like
doesn't even respond to music.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but I mean, it's sort of you transcended it. You know, it's amazing. That's great.
I have a suspicion there's a lot of people like me, but it's not a word for it.
Michelle, you brought up the cast earlier, and I wanted to talk about them briefly before we end. I mean, so amazing, and they are now hanging out together on these press things, and we saw the girls singing on Fallon the other night. I mean, do you want to talk about
the casting process was, we had 3 casting directors. We did a search around the world, and what was challenging for our movie was that, you know, we obviously wanted all of our talent to be Korean. We wanted them to be bilingual, and then we wanted them to sing, and that just doesn't happen.
narrows the field, yeah.
So we started with voiceover. That's how we started. We're like, okay, we need them to sing, and we need them to be able to act. So like, that didn't work out, and we're like, you know, there's not a lot of people that can sing. And when people say, oh, I can sing, but it's like, if you hear our songs,
not at that.
Yeah. Not at that level.
Yeah. Superhuman level.
Yes.
Superhuman level.
Like EJ was a phenomenon.
Yeah. And even for EJ, she's a pop singer.
Yeah.
So what's difficult is like, our songs are a mix of musical theater and pop. So you can easily find people that sing pop songs, but they can't sing and emote like musical theater. So the girls had to learn how to not only sing as their character, because they each have a personality, but also to be able to sing and emote in emotional ways.
Yes.
And then, you know,
and telling a story too, because there's narrative in each song too, right?
Right. Yeah. And then also to find singers that could, you know, sound like the girls. Because we have an actor that is, you know, reading the dialogue, they have to set, you don't want to hear the song and be like, oh, well, that doesn't even sound like the
right.
So
right.
It was, you know, all of our casting actually, as we all know, came in very late.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
when it clicked, that was one of the early signs during production, like, oh, we're onto something. Cause like after every voice recording, the directors would come into our anim reviews, and they'd be all a buzz about it. Like, Rumi is such a Rumi, and then Mira is such a Mira, and like the animation crew was doing the same thing. Like they'd be calling each other, who's a Rumi, who's a Mira, who's a Zoe. They like, when people are like, it wasn't a clear favorite. It all became like this affiliation that you like. You can see people are connecting to, and it wasn't like they're all stars.
Right.
That's what really brings it to life, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, you know, and then we're also getting pressure from the studios, because it's like, you know, they think that we need name talent.
Right.
But there's not, you know, we do have name talent like An Hyo-sup and Lee Byung-hun. Lee Byung-hun is huge.
Yes.
But that's not to the general public.
Right.
He's
in every Kim Ji-woon movie, and he's amazing. he's
one of
the
the
voice
biggest
of the
actors.
fire. What is the fire guy called? What is he?
Kima.
Yeah.
His voice is amazing.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's amazing. Yeah. But how did that late casting affect the production? Jacky, do you want to say?
Well,
She's sweating again.
Breathe. No, it was just shifting priorities.
Okay.
So there's some sequences that are safe, some that Josh can work on, you know, like choreography or whatever. We can just sort of plan things out, and then as the voices came in, then you can drop them in. So sometimes you had to animate without the voices and then replace them. Sometimes you have to just hold off. You know, we can't do that. And sometimes you record it afterwards.
Yeah, like if you're clear enough challenges, you can find ways to solve that, work around it. When there's more movie to make, you can figure out how to work on it.
Yeah.
Like that's
lots of creative problem solving.
Yeah.
And now they're all household names. So
Yes.
yeah.
wow.
And you know,
I can't wait to see all the Halloween costumes.
And that's what's so great about our partnership with Sony Animation and Sony and Imageworks is that everyone is on the same page as far as, you know, making the movies next level. It's like, you never hear anyone complain about, just like, you know, this is just, you know, everyone's pushing to the limit.
Yeah.
And that's one thing with like when there are delays, because it pushes everything sort of right. So by the time it gets to lighting and you want to elevate it even more and you're running out of time, and it's just like, we just want to make it the best we can. It's not because we want to make it by Friday. It's because we want to make it by Friday, but 10 times better than you could ever imagine.
Yes. As Mike mentioned at the opening remarks yesterday, Sony has the long-term vision called Creative Entertainment Vision to illustrate what Sony wants to become over the next decade. So what kind of world do you envision in the next 10 years or beyond?
I love how impossible a question that is.
I know.
It's something I really worked hard on.
Well, one of my favorite things about this industry as a whole, like animation, especially like the technology version of it, is you're gonna get surprises, and that's what's wild about it. We're still, as a medium, in our infancy. We're in the wild west of the early days of figuring out how this thing works at all, and like, it feels like painters just starting to find brushes. It's gonna surprise us, and I'm excited about that part of it.
I love that. Jackie?
For me, I just think Sony needs to keep working on keeping the Honmoon sealed.
Yes, I think they will.
Ultimate
I
ambition.
think they will be dedicated to that. But it is very exciting because Sony is such a wonderful place for animation, because there is no house style. Every project is different, and every project seems to be kind of grasping for something more than the last one did. So yeah, I don't know if you want to speak to that at all.
The trick is the movie tells you what it wants to be. Like, it's not doing style for style's sake. Yeah, it has to be because there's this core need it has. Like what thing would elevate this? If you're putting style first, then it's just fundamentally not going to work. And so having a diverse range of like stories you're trying to tell, that's what makes that possible. So you're like, okay, how we're gonna follow this, I have no idea.
Right.
but I can't wait to find it.
Well, should you all be blessed with further K-pop adventures? Are you excited about jumping back into the fray?
Yeah.
Michelle's unsure.
Yes, Michelle.
No, I am excited. I mean, you know, this moment has just been surreal and incredible, and I can't be more grateful and happy at how the world has received our movie. And you know, we are all very tired.
Yes.
But we are excited for the next step. You know? It's
touched culture, and that's rare and special in the life. To make an art that you can see people are responding to. I think so much of us were just trying to not disappoint people. Like there's already a fan base of K-pop music and K culture, and just making sure we're not disappointing them is the mindset we had, and to find out like this audience is far bigger than we fathomed. It's been a wild surprise.
Jackie would like things to be a little bit more linear on the next one. No. Okay. All right. Okay.
This is how I work.
Okay. You thrive in chaos. Yeah. There
has to be some organization in the chaos.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you all so much for chatting, and thank you all for coming out this morning.